When I was 12 years old, I asked my grandfather a question that had been living in my heart for years. I looked into his tired eyes and asked, "Grandpa, why are we poor while others have so much?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he smiled and reached into his pocket.
He pulled out an old leather wallet. It was worn, faded, and almost empty. Inside was only a single dollar bill and an old family photograph. Then he handed it to me and quietly said, "This wallet may look empty, but it carries the greatest wealth I've ever owned." The next morning, my grandfather took me to the village market. We walked slowly through the dusty streets, surrounded by smiling shopkeepers, fresh vegetables, and the simple beauty of village life. I had no idea he was about to teach me a lesson that would change my life forever. Near the bakery, we saw a little boy standing alone. Tears filled his eyes as he stared at a loaf of bread he couldn't afford. My heart broke. But my grandfather simply watched him in silence. Without saying a single word, my grandfather reached into his old wallet, took out his last dollar, and bought the bread for the hungry child. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. The little boy smiled as he held the warm bread in his hands. His tears disappeared. I looked at my grandfather and asked, "Grandpa, that was your last dollar?" He smiled gently and replied, "Money comes and goes, but kindness leaves footprints that last forever." On our way home, my grandfather placed his hand on my shoulder and said, "Most people measure wealth by what stays inside their wallet. I measure wealth by how many lives my hands have touched." Years passed. I grew older. Life became harder. But every time I faced a difficult decision, I remembered my grandfather's words. His lessons stayed with me, even when he no longer could. One quiet morning, my grandfather left this world. His chair outside the house remained empty, but his wisdom continued to fill every corner of my heart. While cleaning his room, I opened an old wooden drawer. There it was. The same old leather wallet. Time had aged it, but somehow it still felt alive. Inside the wallet, I found something I had never seen before. A folded handwritten letter. My hands trembled as I slowly opened it. The letter said, "If you're reading this, I'm no longer beside you. Remember this. Money can disappear overnight, but your character will stay with you forever. Whenever life gives you more than you need, become someone's blessing." Those words became the foundation of my life. I worked honestly, treated people with respect, and helped whenever I could. Slowly, opportunities came. My small business grew, and success followed naturally. Years later, my own son looked at me and asked the very same question I once asked my grandfather. "Dad, are we rich?"
I smiled, placed my grandfather's old wallet into his hands, and said, "Real wealth isn't measured by the money inside this wallet. It's measured by the kindness inside your heart." We walked together into the golden sunset. I realized something beautiful. My grandfather never left me a fortune, but he left me wisdom worth more than any treasure. Because true wealth isn't what you keep, it's what you give away and the lives you change along the way.